so then when I went to graduate school and I went in the world of academia, and I was like, there's all this pressure to, you write your grant after you've done about 3/4 of the work, so that as soon as you get the grant, then you can publish the papers that go with the grant. So you're not really discovering anything. You're kind of talking about, here's what I already know, but I'm acting like I haven't looked at it yet. And there's pressure to follow, as you said, follow the line of thinking for both funding and for your career. And, I was told very nicely by wonderful people who wanted to support me that if I took this stuff about psychic stuff off my resume, I would have a perfectly good resume for academia. And I was like, are you crazy? This is the stuff that's actually interesting. Why would I want to take it off? But that's what took me away from academia and made me realize I had to put one foot in building things. I could leave a foot in academia, but I had to build shit because academia is so slow. They can learn something, and then 10 years later, they're like, do you think it's true? And then 20 years later, they're like, maybe we can make something with it. And it's like, yeah. But at the same time, you have to be careful. You don't get to just say, well, I just know people are psychic, and therefore,
right.
Screw it. So, yeah, there's this dance. There's this dance there. But when you were saying this thing about people afraid to be foolish, I wonder how much it helps me to come from a family of very foolish, eccentric people.
I'm sure it helps a lot.
Because I'm not afraid to be foolish. In fact, I just know that I am. And so,
well, I think intelligent, kind people don't mind talking to people that occasionally say foolish things.
Well,
or things that could be perceived as foolish, because they're willing to take chances and look at these obscure topics and strange phenomenon and not worry about the stigma that's attached to these subjects that keeps supposedly intelligent or serious people that want to be considered as serious people from discussing.
Well, like when you said the thing about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And I laughed a little bit. That was like a reflex laugh from academia. So that's
a fun one. Well, Bigfoot's a fun one.
It is, and I have friends who study Bigfoot and other cryptids and in a scholarly way. And I had to learn not to laugh. Like it's like we have our little discomfort and then we laugh because I want to be taken seriously and stuff. But interestingly, the UFO whole world got accepted into the mainstream land of things that possibly exist before the psychic world, but the psychic world has been studied like by the intelligence community, et cetera, since like the 50s.
Right.
Whereas the UFO world was supposed to be, we don't care about that, and then only recently has come to the fore. So it's really interesting to see this balance. They're both related, and they both have their own processes of disclosure. But it's just interesting, culturally it's interesting to see this instinct to be right. As you called it. And I feel like there's the PBS convention is in town right now in the hotel where I'm staying. And I got to say, I think that's still largely a very left-leaning organization. And I was raised up in a really left-leaning household. But the thing that really pisses me off about the left is this wanting to be smart and proving that you're smart. And the thing that pisses me off about the right is wanting to be right. And I feel like both of those things fail.
Yes.
I mean, neither of them allows us to just discover, okay, what's next? Like, how can we actually solve the problems that are going on instead of just wanting our team to win?
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to me how the cultural change with science also relates to our politics.
Yeah, I grew up in a very left-leaning household as well. My parents are still very left. And I think that there is a real problem with ideologies where, especially in this country, we're so polarized, we have a right and a left. And I think most people are kind of in the middle somewhere. And I'm certainly in the middle. I'm probably like middle left. That's where I kind of see myself. But if you read about me, I'm like far right somehow or another, which is
I know
weird.
It's interesting. I'm now independent. I'm officially independent because I'm like, screw it.
Yeah.
I do think most people are in the center, and I think we need to get clarity on that. You get to you get to say something that's different from what either side is saying.
Yeah, the problem with either side is you have to accept, if you're going to join one of their team. I had a bit about it in my last comedy special, that if you're going to join their team, you have to believe all of the things.
Yeah, right. And you have to kind of display them, perform like you're
Yes.
performing.
Very good point.
Right?
Yes.
You have to say all the right words. And if you say the wrong words, you're canceled. And that happens on both sides.
100%. And, the right was always complaining about the left doing it, but now the right's doing it. They're canceling each other about all kinds of stupid things. And it's just Mark Andreessen's talked about this, that they display all of the behavior that you get from cults. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Totally.
Excommunication, extreme following of doctrine with no deviation whatsoever. Everyone's very performative, that they are more in line with the doctrine than you are. Ew.
Yeah. And
Ew.
by the way, academia is a lot like that.
Oh, it's very much like that. That's very disturbing.
It is disturbing because these people, you're supposed to be open-minded, because how are you going to get to truth? I mean, the idea is to get to truth, right?
Yes.
How are you going to get to truth if you've decided, well, that person's asking this question, that's an inappropriate question?
Yes. Yeah. And it's also, there's this thing about people being gatekeepers of information. So like if you're an expert in a very particular subject and someone disagrees with that, people are like, I am a PhD in the subject, and let me tell you about this, and I know what's going on.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's so irritating. And actually that bothers me when I go on shows and people say, oh, but you're a scientist and you study this. And it's like, yeah, but could we not revere me for that reason? Could we instead ask the question, like, does she do good work? Does she have interesting thoughts? Does this seem reasonable? Does it seem like she's after the, moving towards the good? Those are really the standards, regardless of your degree. And so it worries me that we put so much reverence in scientists or whatever, or experts. And I also see that there can be this problem where you go, oh, experts are all full of shit. And then, you have to get like brain surgery and you're like, I would like a really good neurosurgeon. So there's kind of both.
Oh, 100% there's both. I think the problem is human ego. And the problem is that even people that have like deeply studied subjects, the wanting the reverence and wanting people to defer to you wholly with no questions whatsoever, like as if you have the entire database on whatever this thing is settled. This is settled science. We know everything about it. And that doesn't seem to be the case very often. There's very few things that seem to be completely settled. And it's much more interesting to me when I talk to someone that their perspective is, I'm a person that has spent an inordinate amount of time going over this stuff, and this is what I know. I might not know all of it, but this is what we know, and this is why we think this is what it is, and this is so. Instead of like having this ego, and I see it,